So what's up, YouTube? Today we're going to be taking a look at my BMAX setups for an upcoming race in Toronto in Scarborough. I'll put up a picture on screen as to where it is, and the track layout is actually pretty fun. There is like, so you start and then you go to a bank and then there's a short hump, like a jump, but you have lots of space to land. And then after that jump, you're going into a tabletop up. So it's a short jump into a tabletop. You have to make sure you land before you corner. You go right down, go around, down the tabletop, and then into a lane changer. And then there's another lane changer depending on what lane you're on. And then there's a bank, and then you're going back into a kink and then back to the starting point. It's a lot of fun, and the reason why is because there's lots of space for you to go fast. However, I'm actually not quite sure how fast I should be going or exactly what I'm going to be doing here. So I'm going to go through some of my builds here. 2 of these I'm going to be submitting. It's only $10 per submission. And then my friend, he's going to be using my yellow car, which is my backup car, as the submission. But I intend for this to do well as well. So I did modify this a little bit. So this is my DCR01, is my red one. This is kind of like my classic BMAX build that I've been using for a very long time. I've used this on quite a number of races already. It's a lot of fun. It's because it's quite fast, but it's not exactly the most stable car, unfortunately. 13mm rear, double aluminum roller at the front. This one is inverted over here for the lane changer and is using a tapered 13mm roller just to prevent the front from getting caught, as kind of like an underguard. These are the MA chassis mass dampeners at the rear. There's 2 mass dampeners at the rear, and there's a bowl and a plate stacked at the front just to prevent the front from bouncing as much. These are the high tube stabilizers wrapped in tape, and at the plate at the front is 3mm thick, and this stiffens up the front. So basically, if you're going at high speeds, it prevents the front from flexing. You don't want this to flex because there's a bit of down thrust here. If you set this plate back, it's at a bit of an angle already. So if this area is not stiff, you'll basically lose the down thrust, and then you may not clear the lane changer very well. You don't have to do that. Do whatever solution works for you. This is just what I'm doing. This is the wide rear plate, lots of compatibility for different rollers. I may switch out these 13mm rollers for a 17, just to give that a try. I used to have a 2022 Japan Cup brake plate. Now I'm using the updated carbon one because I blew up the old one. The old one's actually right here. I still have it. So then I blew it up right here. So you can see the carbon fiber kind of fractured right here. You can see it right there. See how there's a crack there? So it just blew up, unfortunately. Unfortunately, I couldn't use this for one of my BMAX races because I destroyed it and I didn't have an extra plate handy on hand. The rear underguard here, this is a Japan Cup 2018 front plate that I'm using as a rear underguard. So you can see it covers that screw perfectly. All the screws are countersunk just to prevent anything from catching. And this is 2 popsicle sticks. So there's one at the front shimmed with two shims. The one on the rear is shimmed with 3 shims. And the reason why is because on a 45-degree checker, it actually matches the angle quite well. So this is what I'm going to be using to brake. So at 45-degree banks or 45-degree, it will brake quite well. The rear will also engage, but on a 20mm, it will not engage. It doesn't even touch. What you're hearing there, that's the tape that's touching. But as you can see, there's a gap there. So none of the sponges touch on the 20mm. So when you're going up the bank, this won't slow it down. This is on a Hyper Dash 3.5, so this thing tends to go pretty fast. The one thing I'm just not sure is just the rear rollers. I just might switch them up for something else, just to add a bit more stability here. Because even though this goes pretty fast, sometimes it's just going a bit too fast. This is a lot of fun, but just not perfectly stable. Not all the time anyways. If you want to watch one of my races on that, I have a video up that with a Mod Dojo in a BMAX race. It got into... I only cleared first qualifiers though, so it didn't do that well. But I got into semifinals at KSK Lab. And this is my other DCR submission. This is using a Mac Dash 4-to-1 ratio gears. So Mac Dash is because ever since I built this as my primary BMAX car, basically what this lacked, I tried to turn this into like my main speed car, so to speak. So out of all these cars, this is my fastest one. It goes really fast. But that being said, it sucks at technicals. Anything technicals, anything like a dragon back, like a double dragon back, like I'm trying to think of what else. Like a tight a short jump into an immediate turn. This thing would do very poorly, but it does great at just about everything else. There's lots of straight sections, and that's the reason why I'm interested in submitting this, because I have a feeling that I can outrun people in certain places. So this one is using a hard rear tire, grippy, and a maroon tire at the front for low friction. So this thing goes and turns very fast. This is just super hard front and rear, carbon reinforced 12-spoke wheels. Plate at the rear is the same. Front is still the same as this. It's just using the limited edition Wygo Hobby ones. That's silver color with purple lettering, which matches the color of the thing quite well. And then for the brake plate, I'm using two brake plates with an SXX front as my rear underguard. So the rear underguard is just mostly preventing from getting it hooked in this area over here. And there is space for a mass dampener on the side over here, mass dampeners on the rear, bullet mass dampeners on the T-Mac side stay, and then 2 at the front, just like this one. But this one is just using these. So this one is fast, but to control some of the jumps a little bit better, I'm using a 13mm underroller, and with a double aluminum roller with the O-ring. So the O-ring one is just in case if I need that extra stability just to keep the car on the track. In case if I need it, that's there. This left one over here is inverted for the lane changer. This stabilizer is the 11mm one. So it goes 13, 12, 11. This 11mm stabilizer head also comes with a 15mm head, which is what this is. It's inverted upside down. So therefore, it's like an underguard for the 19mm roller. So it's using a standard, just a 19mm roller. Everyone can buy this. This is quite common. This thing is really cool. This is a tapered 19mm roller. Very, very cool. I have never purchased this thing before. I will admit, I'm partly using it because it looks cool. But at the same time, it does serve a bit of function. So whenever you're going a tabletop at high speeds and exiting going down, the rear sometimes sways a little bit because it's just going super fast. So this prevents it from getting caught. It has been helpful, but 90% of the reason for me using this is just because it looks cool. Okay, that's basically the only reason. But yeah, it's a very fun car. On Mac Dash, it is super fast, but holy it's difficult to control sometimes. Which is the reason why I'm using white brake at the front. I'm using the thin white brake at the rear because I actually lowered the plate. So there's shims that I use to lower the plate, and there's 3 shims at the front to lower the plate. This will clear 20 degree, but the rear does touch the 20 degree a little bit. Just a little bit, not enough to slow it down. It just barely touches. But for the 45 degree, everything touches. So everything touches very well, but it doesn't quite have the same angle as this one, which is a little bit unfortunate, but that being said, it does the job. So for now, this is going to be my submission. I'm not 100% sure if I need to change the brake sponges on that day. I don't even know if we get to try it. So when I'm filming this, by the way, I will also film the process of me joining my first race in Toronto to see how it goes, to see what it's like for other people. I have never joined one. I don't know if there's any... all the races I've joined were quite simple. You just basically line up, they check your card, they put a number on you, and you're good to go. And then you just follow the tournament as it goes. I'm not entirely sure if there's anything extra, but we'll figure it out along the way. And if there's something along the way, I'll be sure to mention it in the video, which I will post probably the day after tomorrow. And yeah. So just to show you guys what the inside here looks like, there's nothing special inside. Inside all my MA chassis is basically the same, just the motor and the gears, and there's 2 shims to shim it. It is using the flaring shaft. There's nothing special in here. There's literally nothing special in here, right? I think the only really cool thing about this chassis is the fact that it's one of the very few MA chassis that actually comes with a gray. It's actually gray color, right? So the white one is very common, right? Black one is very common, but I've never had a gray chassis. So this one to me is special. I hope I don't break it. But so far, for technicals though, this has been very, very poor, unfortunately, which is why this comes in. This yellow DCR, this is, for lack of a better word, this is my technical car. I can switch out the rollers very easily to adapt to different scenarios. So this is using a 19mm roller. I can use 9, I can use the 13, and I can switch them out without removing the underguard. Right, so this is the underguard here. I have access to the screw without taking this off. So it's very, very useful. 2020 Japan Cup. This is, I believe this rear plate was for the VZ chassis, I believe. Correct me, I might be wrong about that. Don't quote me on that. This is the FRP side stays. Bullet dampeners, 2 dampeners at the rear, 2 at the front, very normal. One thing worth noting is that the rear plate here that you see here, there's 2 of them at the front, stacked. So you can see that's stacked at the front over here. Okay, so this basically, this functions like this. It just stiffens them up and prevents them from flexing whenever I'm going at high speeds. This thing will clear a lane changer without very easily on both the left and right side, meaning without inverting any of the rollers, just as this is, with a double aluminum roller and 11mm bearing, it will clear a lane change on the left and right. So if I have back-to-back lane changers, if I have jump stability, or if I need to jump into a corner, this one is what I use. And I'm using a screw, the round-headed one, plus 2 shims to angle the plate even further. You can see the plate is actually not bolted to the chassis. It's actually lifting. It's not even leaning on the chassis. It's just leaning on the screw. So there's a bit of extra angle over there. And that's what I use to basically I built this purely for technicals. I'll run some videos of how this thing behaves, but it's basically designed to basically be like for dragon backs, is using 3.7 to 1 gear ratio. It recovers very well. It corners very well. I'll run a few videos of it actually catching up to people on corners. It actually has a tendency to do that. It recovers well. Dragon backs, it will basically pretend like it doesn't exist. This thing is pretty good. However, there's one downside. It's not fast. Compared to my red DCR, this yellow one, it is not as fast, for sure. I don't know if it's because of the mass dampeners. I don't really know if it's because of the too short of a roller base, but on straights and stuff like that, it cannot beat the DCR. My DCR red one will beat it outright. But nevertheless, it's a very reliable car. It's like a backup car, but yeah, but at the same time, it can function as a main car in my technical build. It works reasonably well. Front, white brake, rear blue brake. It does clear the 20-degree check. That sound that you hear is the front of the tape not being perfectly, so it scrapes the floor a little bit. But for 20-degree checks, it clears. On 45-degree, the front and the rear will engage. However, they're not engaging super heavily. You can see that it is engaging. Right. So this should be fine. It's on a hyper dash. So I think the strategy is hyper dash 3.5. I think. I don't think I will need 3.7 because there's only 2 jumps. So the rest of it is just speed, in my opinion. However, I'm not sure if the lane changers and kinks, will slow the car down, right? So I'm not entirely sure if 3.7 is better with hyperdash or 3.5 is better with hyperdash there. I feel like going full out in speed is the key without heavy brakes. I think that's the solution. I'm not, again, I'm just kind of guessing just from the way the track looks. I don't think I've seen 2 lane changes in one track. I also don't think I've seen, they put a lot of kinks in weird places. I'm not entirely sure what that would make the car feel like, because kinks, normally they're like, what, half a section long? and I typically just ignore them. I typically pretend like the kink doesn't even exist. But yeah, I'm not quite sure. I know this white one will do decent, and the reason why is just because it's fast. The track is relatively flat. It jumps okay. Not a perfect jumper, not great for technicals, but it jumps good enough, straight enough for it to not. I know this will complete the track. I know that, but whether or not it'll complete the track fast on a Mac Dash 4:1 ratio, that I'm not sure. I know this will be fast everywhere, but when I exit on the tabletops, when I exit at high speeds, I worry this thing will be a little bit unstable because this has a tendency to go a bit too fast when coming out of a tabletop. Everything else is fine. I'm pretty sure this will go really fast as well. It's just coming down the tabletop is the only thing I'm concerned about when it comes to this. This one, this yellow DCR, I know for sure it will complete the course. I have no doubt about it. I just don't know if it's fast. I have a feeling this will be faster. This will be. I'm actually not sure. Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I hopefully there's time to test the track. On the day of the video, I will edit it mentioning that, hey, there's time for you to test stuff. Because there's some races that I've joined where there was no time to test stuff. It's just more like you try, you use up your respawns and eliminations just to figure out whether or not you can survive the track. I don't know how it works in Toronto, so we're gonna give it a shot. I'm gonna be running the NeoChamp batteries over here. So these NeoChamps, I'm a bit strained because I have my friend's gonna be using this car, so that means I will only have one extra set of batteries. So everything's gonna be a bit strained here, but I think it should be fine. Hopefully everything works out. If you guys stayed throughout the whole video, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's just me showing off my builds and what I'm thinking. I'm fairly certain that I've been in races where speed was not the key, where stability was the key. In this case, I'm fairly certain speed is the key. My God, I have a feeling people are just gonna blitz past me because I'm using an MA chassis. MA chassis is just typically not that great on the jump recovery. This is out of all these, probably only these two will be great at the jump recovery, I think. Anyways, yeah, peace.